So today, we're going to pull back the curtain on one of the most famous private aircrafts in the world. But this story isn't really about politics. Nope, it's about gold-plated perfection, a tale of extreme luxury, serious engineering, and an obsession with every single detail. Okay, so you've definitely heard of Air Force One, right? It's that iconic presidential plane, a symbol of American power that flies the commander-in-chief all around the globe. But there's another famous 757 out there, one you've probably heard called Trump Force One. It was everywhere on the campaign trail, and it really became this flying symbol of a personal brand. But look, for our purposes today, we're not talking about rallies or elections. We are going inside the machine itself. We're going to uncover the story of its design, its power, and the frankly mind-boggling standards required to keep it in the air. And the whole story, the transformation of this jet, it really starts with this one number, $100 million. That is what it costs to completely refurbish this aircraft, to turn it from a regular old commercial airliner into, well, a flying palace. All right, so let's step on board and see what a $100 million makeover really looks like. The level of detail in here is, well, it's pretty astounding. I mean, forget your standard fabric or leather seatbelts. The very first thing you'd probably notice are the seatbelts. Every single one of them is plated in 24-karat gold, and that's just the start. The gold plating is everywhere, on the sinks, the faucets, pretty much all the fixtures throughout the plane. And the luxury definitely doesn't stop with the gold. The ceilings are lined with this super soft ultra suede. The seats, of course, they're high-grade leather, and each one is embroidered with the family crest. The cabinets are all crafted from rare mahogany. This isn't just a plane. It's basically a flying suite with its own dining room, a guest room, a main bedroom, and get this, even a full-size shower. Now, to get all that luxury in there, they had to totally rethink the space. Your standard Boeing 757, that'll pack in over 200 people. This one, it's designed for just 43. All that extra space is dedicated to creating this environment of just unmatched comfort and, let's face it, exclusivity. So it's kind of hard to wrap your head around just how much gold we're talking about, right? Well, here's a pretty wild analogy from the source material. If you took all the gold from inside that plane and melted it down, you'd have enough to completely coat the entire outside of a Greyhound bus. That really paints a picture of the sheer scale of the opulence we're looking at here. Okay, but this jet isn't just a pretty face, you know? It's also a seriously impressive piece of aviation engineering. So let's get into the numbers. Tucked under those wings, you've got two massive Rolls-Royce RB211 engines. And these things are powerhouses. They can push this jet to over 500 miles per hour. But maybe more importantly, they give it a flight time of up to 16 hours. That's enough to cross continents without even thinking about refueling. And at 154 feet long, this is no little private jet. We're talking about the scale of a commercial airline. But here's the thing about those engines. It's not just about the raw power. They're also famously quiet. Some of the quietest in their class, actually. And that's not just for comfort. It's a huge practical advantage. It lets the jet land at smaller airports that have really strict noise restrictions, which opens up a whole world of possible destinations. You know, a machine like this doesn't just run itself. It demands a team that's completely obsessed with perfection. The operational standard is just as high-end as those gold-plated fixtures. The pilot, a guy named John Duncan, has this whole pre-flight ritual down to a science. It starts out on the tarmac with a full walk-around inspection. Then it's into the cockpit for a super detailed systems check, and the rule is simple. The whole crew has to be ready and waiting long before the owner shows up, just to make sure every single departure is absolutely seamless. And this is why every single one of those details matters so much. This quote from Trump himself really says it all. The first thing he does when he gets on board is personally inspect the cabin. Sparkling clean and shiny isn't just a friendly suggestion, it is the absolute baseline. And that obsession, it goes way beyond just the day-to-day. Every 18 months, the plane goes through this massive inspection that honestly sounds like organized chaos. All the furniture gets taken apart and covered up. Those beautiful suede walls are literally torn open to get at the wiring for upgrades, like installing Wi-Fi. It's an intense 3-week-long process with crews working in 2 shifts. In one case, they moved the seam in the galley floor just to make it invisible, a tiny detail that required a ton of work. But after all that, after weeks of tearing the plane apart and putting it back together, this might be the most incredible detail of all. When everything's done, the pilot himself performs one last check. He takes a large, soft brush and personally brushes the suede on the ceiling so the grain is perfectly uniform, all running in the exact same direction. Now, that is the level of perfection we are talking about. So, where did this plane even come from? I mean, before it was Trump Force One, this Boeing 757 had a pretty fascinating life of its own. So, its story starts back in 1991, not as some luxury icon, but as a total workhorse for a Danish airline. Then it flew for a Mexican airline for a bit before a huge shift in 1995. It was bought by a titan of tech, Microsoft co-founder Paul Allen. For 16 years, it served as his private jet, until finally, in 2011, it was sold and its $100 million transformation began. And really, that kind of brings us to the big idea here. When you think about it, from the 24-karat gold seatbelts to the pilot literally brushing the ceiling, every single detail on this aircraft is designed to project an image of ultimate luxury and absolute control. It's so much more than just a way to get from A to B. It's a flying extension of a personal brand, where the standard isn't just excellence, it's visible, undeniable perfection.